On today's show, the Cavs win their 7th straight game as they take down the Charlotte Hornets on Friday night in Charlotte. And this game was won because of a new addition. It wasn't James Harden, though. We'll talk about the bench that swung this game for the Cavs next on this edition of Locked On Cavs.
You are Locked On Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi again, everybody. My name is Danny Cunningham, and I cover the Cleveland Cavaliers over at my Substack, The Inside Shot, and you're listening to another edition of Locked On Cavs, a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network in all of America. You can find this show the same place you can find any other Locked On podcast. That's Apple, that's Spotify, that is YouTube as well. If you're watching the show right now on YouTube, please do us a favor. Hit that thumbs up button and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the latest Locked On Cavs content, and make sure you're subscribed wherever you might be listening to this show. And today's show is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Have your cake and drink it too. Birthday cake flavor is back. No fork needed. Vanilla-y cakey flavor. Caffeinated cake and no sugar. It's party time. Order now at 5hourenergy.com or on Amazon today. The Cavs get an impressive win over the Charlotte Hornets. We will talk about that as Donovan Mitchell closes it out in the fourth quarter. We will talk about the bench unit that I really thought swung this game, and we will discuss Jarrett Allen, having one of the best stretches of his career. But ultimately, the Cavs get a 118-113 win in Charlotte over the Hornets to get their 7th straight win. They now move into sole possession. It might just be for now. The Knicks play on Saturday night, and they could regain that tied position in third with the Cavs. But the Cavs move into sole possession of third place for the first time in a long time with this win. But I want to start with this game at the end, because this was not the most impressive performance. I don't think the Cavs played necessarily all that well, and give Charlotte credit. I think that Hornets basketball team is a very, very impressive group. That is a playoff team. And I know that they're missing a couple of key pieces. No Miles Bridges, no Moussa Diabate, and Evan Mobley did not play in this game for the Cavs as part of an injury management plan, which I do think was a smart thing. We'll touch upon that coming up in a little bit. But the Cavs didn't necessarily play great. They had spurts where they were awesome, and they led this game by as many as 14 at a couple of different points, but they needed Donovan Mitchell to carry them home. And Donovan was able to, despite the fact that he didn't have a great first 3 quarters of this game. This was not some impressive Donovan Mitchell performance by his standards, by most standards it is, but he finishes with 32 points. And he had 13 of his 32 in the fourth quarter, including a few really big buckets down the stretch. He had a mid-range bucket that I believe put the Cavs back up 5 after Charlotte had cut it to 3 with under a minute left. He hit 4 free throws to ice the game. He did the superstar things that superstars need to do at the end of games. And that was, I think, a good reminder that even though this group has changed, even though that this is a much different team than it was even 3 weeks ago, and that James Harden is here now, and he has been fantastic so far for the Cavaliers, and we'll talk about his performance coming up in just a little bit too, but I do think that this was a reminder that it's still Donovan Mitchell's team. Despite all the changes, despite the fact that James Harden is a future Hall of Famer and as good as he is and has been for the Cavs so far, and he had some huge plays in this game too, this fourth quarter was a reminder that ultimately the Cavs are going to be able to go as far as Donovan Mitchell can take them. Now, he has a lot of help now. I think more help than he has had at any other point in his career. I think this is the most talented team that he's played on. I think this is a better basketball team than who the Cavs were last year. I truly do believe that. But ultimately, Donovan Mitchell is going to have to be the one that gets this group over the hump. And that's why the fourth quarter that he had against Charlotte was so important. Because on a night where he didn't necessarily have his best stuff, he didn't shoot the ball well from beyond the arc. He was just 2 of 7 on 3-pointers. He missed a couple of shots that we're used to seeing Donovan Mitchell make that for him are easy looks, and they didn't go down. And you're going to, no matter who you are in the league, you're going to have nights like that throughout the season, right? You're not always going to have your best stuff, and that's what Donovan Mitchell didn't have on Friday night. But the fact that he was able to find a way late in the game when really the game was in the balance. I mean, Charlotte, when the Cavs put their starting 5 back in with, I believe, just under 5 minutes left, the Hornets had cut Cleveland's lead down to 1. And the Cavs led for most of this game. I don't have the exact number as far as how much time exactly the Cavs led, but they were in front for most of this game. It was back and forth early, and then it was back and forth in the third quarter. But the second quarter and most of the fourth quarter was in Cavalier command. But Charlotte went on a run, and they cut it to 1. And then Donovan Mitchell kind of took over, and he made some really big plays, hit some big shots. He did the superstar thing. And that to me is a reminder that yes, James Harden's really good, and that Harden Allen pick and roll is outstanding. And there are some really, really talented guys on this roster. And there are so many different ways, as we saw in this game, that the Cavs can now beat teams. Whereas before it was just kind of, hey, Donovan Mitchell is freaking awesome. And that's why the Cavs had won so many games this year, where they still at times need him to go out there and be awesome. And to me, that's what this fourth quarter was. Now, I mentioned they put the starting lineup back in with around 5 minutes left. Starting lineup tonight with Evan Mobley out, as he missed this game due to injury management for that left calf. I do think it was the right idea to not play him in this game too. Just for the record, let's talk about this real quick. So because the Cavs play again on Sunday in Oklahoma City against the Thunder in a big game, and I know that the Thunder are missing some key pieces. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander not going to play in that game. Jalen Williams not going to play in that game. AJ Mitchell not going to play in that game. Like, the team that we're going to watch the Cavs play on Sunday is not the championship version of the Thunder. It's still a good basketball team, but that's the game that Evan Mobley was scheduled to play in. And with that being a noon Central Time tip-off, it's not like it's a back-to-back, but it's also not the same recovery time when that game is starting 7 hours earlier than what we're used to having NBA games start at. So I think instead of playing him on Friday night and then Sunday, playing him on Thursday against Brooklyn, which obviously the Cavs did, and then giving him Friday and Saturday off before playing on Sunday is the thing that's best for his health. Now, if you're looking at like matchup specific things, sure, he should have played in this game. And I think if he does play in this game, the Cavs probably win pretty comfortably, because some of the minutes with Jarrett Allen off the floor, Thomas Bryant has done a lot of really good things, and he had an awesome block at the rim tonight in this one, but I didn't think that his minutes went all that well. I know he finished as, I think it was a +4 or 5 in the box score, but just like he wasn't necessarily as effective as I think Evan Mobley probably would have been in a lot of those minutes, which I don't think is a slight at Thomas Bryant. Like, Evan Mobley's an all-NBA player and Thomas Bryant isn't. But I do think that this was the right plan for the Cavs, and I would expect Evan to play on Sunday like no issues there moving forward. But with Evan out, they moved Sam Merrill into the starting lineup, which is a move I understand, and I think it makes sense, but I don't necessarily love that grouping. And that lineup played 21 minutes together on Friday night. So Donovan, James Harden, Sam Merrill, Dean Wade, and Jarrett Allen, they played 21 minutes together. They were outscored by 8 points. Like, the starting lineup, for as great as it was on Thursday night against the Nets, and yes, this is a much different test than the Brooklyn Nets. Like, the Charlotte Hornets are, I cannot even put into words how much better they are than Brooklyn. But that starting lineup with Dean Wade at the 3 as opposed to the 4, I just think opens up different strengths for the Cavs. And I think that playing him at the 4 and Sam at the 3 exposes some weaknesses, like the rebounding aspect of things, where the Cavs got crushed on the glass on Friday night until it mattered. Like, give them credit. The fourth quarter, the Cavs out-rebounded the Hornets. I think it was 16-7 in the fourth quarter. That's a big part of the reason why they won this game. And like, Sam Merrill had a couple of massive rebounds in the final minutes of this game. Dean Wade had a couple of big rebounds in the final minutes of this game. But overall, the Cavs were out-rebounded 45-39. And Charlotte had 23 offensive rebounds. The Hornets actually had more offensive rebounds in this game than they did defensive rebounds in this game. And part of that is because the Cavs spent so much time playing small. And when you don't have Evan Mobley, like, the Cavs are a little thin in that area. And I mean, they still played 3 bigs in this game, because they played Jarrett, they played Dean, they played Thomas Bryant for 15, almost 16 minutes. So like, they still played the same number of bigs, but obviously the quality isn't quite the same when you have Thomas Bryant out there instead of Evan Mobley. Again, no slight at Thomas Bryant, who's had, I think, a very good season for the Cavs so far this season. But I look at this and say, starting Sam there makes sense because of something else. I think it's easier to move Sam around a little bit in terms of like, let his role fluctuate, because I do think that depending on matchups, he's going to be a guy that plays more than others some nights. Like, I don't think that he is going to always have, hey, 24 minutes, mark it down, no more, no less. Like, I don't think that's going to be Sam's role. Where I think with Jaylon Tyson, who I do think is the most deserving guy to be in the starting 5, but not the best fit right now in the starting five, because I really do feel strongly that Dean Wade is the best fit as that fifth starter, and the results really speak for themselves. Like, the Cavs have a spectacular record when Dean Wade is in the starting lineup, and that is not a coincidental thing, because they typically do start off very strong defensively, and like in the first quarter, they held Charlotte to 20 points. But Jaylon, I do think, is going to have to transition a little bit into a sixth man bench type of role. And I think that not like moving him around and having him start and then come off the bench. And I think that getting Jaylon into the right habits and getting him into the right position and having it be a consistent role for him moving forward should be a goal for this coaching staff. So I understand starting Sam Merrill. I think if Jaylon Tyson is in that starting lineup instead of Sam, the Cavs probably have more success there. Like, I just do think that would have been a better fit. But the bigger picture, I think, needs to have Jaylon coming off the bench. And I think allowing him to find some consistency with that group and some of those bench lineups is an important thing. And Jaylon only played in this game 17 minutes. I thought he was good in those 17 minutes coming off the bench. We'll talk about that in a second. But I do look at this and say, could he have started? Sure. Would I have had an issue with that? No. And I don't think very many people would. I think people would have actually preferred that. But I understand why the Cavs went with the starting lineup. And ultimately, they closed with this starting lineup too. I was a little surprised they did that. I thought Kenny Atkinson might go to Keon Ellis. I thought he could maybe go to Jaylon Tyson. But he ended up closing with the same lineup that he started with, which is not something that he always does or always has to do. And it worked out very, very well for him as the Cavs were able to find a way to go on a run to close this one out. And ultimately, like I said, get a 118 to 113 win. But the starting lineup, as I mentioned, wasn't necessarily great. The Cavs actually won this game because of how impactful their bench units were. We're going to talk about Dennis Schroder. We're going to talk about Keon Ellis, and we will talk about Jaylon Tyson a little bit more next right here on Locked on Cavs. But first, today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Have you ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? Well, FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into reality with their NBA sweepstakes. And here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you will automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for two. That's right, flights, tickets, the whole experience. And if you're already looking at the board and thinking about which team can make a deep run, maybe it is the Cleveland Cavaliers, who I thought looked pretty impressive. It wasn't perfect, but this was a very nice win for the Cavs on Friday night. Now might be the perfect time to lock it in with FanDuel. Futures this time of the year are the best, right? There's so much to look forward to. And if you have a futures ticket, it kind of makes every game feel a little bit bigger, right? Like, maybe you do bet on the Cavs to win the Eastern Conference, and you keep looking at those odds, and they are plus 330 to win the East, which is the favorite. They have the shortest odds in the East, and that number keeps getting a little bit shorter every time they come away with a victory. And you're thinking, okay, this win puts them in third, and I don't know that they can get to first in the Eastern Conference before the postseason arrives, but if they get to second, that's going to make their path to the conference finals and eventually the NBA finals much easier. So FanDuel allows you to track that, and having some skin in the game with a future for the Cavs to win the Eastern Conference might be your play. So visit FanDuel.com, that is FanDuel.com, to get started and use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Today's show also brought to you by Quo. New year, new systems. And this is the time when a lot of us look at the messier parts of how we run our business and think, there has to be a better way. And there is. Streamlining your communications is one of the quickest upgrades that you can make. That's why today's episode brought to you by Quo, spelled QUO, the smarter way to run your business communications. Because when your team is reachable, organized, and communicating in one place, you're not just working cleaner, you're creating more opportunities to connect with customers. Quo makes everything simple. Your whole team can call and text from one shared business number, so nothing is going to get missed, and everyone sees the full conversation thread, making replies faster and more personal. Works right from your phone or your computer, and you can even keep your existing phone number as well. Quote smart AI tools automatically log calls, summarize conversations, and highlight the next steps so that details never slip through the cracks. So it's no surprise, Quote is the #1 rated business phone system on G2, trusted by more than 90,000 businesses, from solo operators to growing teams. So make this the year where no opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo for free, plus get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/lockedonnba. There's Quo, QUO.com/lockedonnba. Quo. No missed calls, no missed customers. Thank you again for making today's edition of Locked On Cavs your first listen. Thank you to those of you that make Locked On Cavs your first listen every single day. And if that's you, you might want to check out the Locked On Cavs Everydayer Club. Get you ad-free versions of this show wherever you get your podcast, plus access to a members-only Discord server where you can chat with other Cavs fans, and you can also even jump in to some national threads about the NBA as well. So the thing to me that might have actually been more impressive than what Donovan Mitchell did in the fourth quarter or how great Jarrett Allen was in this game, which we'll talk about coming up in segment number 3, but how the bench really turned things. And this is a team that is still finding itself. And there are still these moments where you think you can see, oh yeah, they haven't played a lot of basketball together. Like James Harden had a turnover where he thought Dean Wade was going to stick in the corner and Dean cut to the basket and James threw it to the corner and nobody was there because those two just don't have a lot of minutes together yet. That's something that we are going to watch grow and evolve over these now final 25 games left in the season. But that's why I do think watching the bench turn this game the way that it did was really cool, because when you, in the first quarter, and the Cavs offensively got off to a great start. Like Cleveland and Charlotte were just trading baskets back and forth to open up this game. And the Cavs really couldn't get stops until about halfway through the first quarter. And what happened at that point? Well, that's when Jaylon Tyson and Keon Ellis and Dennis Schroder all checked into the game. And that is when, to me, the Cavs really made their presence felt. And yes, Charlotte is a little shorthanded, and the Cavs, I think, are a deeper team than the Hornets, especially when they don't have Miles Bridges, they don't have Moussa Diabate. Although, I mean, to be fair, the Cavs don't have Evan Mobley, and he's the best player that didn't play in this game. So it's not like anyone's going to be crying for the fact that the Hornets were down a few guys. But watching the way that Keon Ellis and Dennis Schroder and Jaylon Tyson can just turn up the defensive intensity, I think is going to be a real factor for this team when the games really do matter later on in April, May, and maybe even into June. Because I watch, and I know it's so easy to bag on the Kings because Keon Ellis looks like the steal of the trade deadline. Like James Harden gets so much attention and he's been awesome, and he should get all the attention that he's been getting because he has been so good for this team. And I thought he was good again in this game on Friday night, even if it's not the most impressive box score. Like I thought he had a huge impact. And I think part of the reason why Jarrett Allen is having as much success as he is because of James Harden. But again, we'll talk about that coming up. But Keon Ellis is like, he looks like such a steal. And I even think there are some people internally, and you've heard Kenny Atkinson even say this, there are some people internally with the Cavs that are like, I didn't see this coming from Keon Ellis. And like, there are times where maybe the film on him in Sacramento wasn't the most impressive stuff. Certainly didn't look as impactful as it has in Cleveland. And I do think there is something to his skill set having a bigger impact on a winning basketball team as opposed to on the Sacramento Kings, who are the worst team in basketball. So like, I do think, to be very fair to the Kings here, even though, I mean, this looks like the Cavs just absolutely fleeced Sacramento in getting Keon Ellis and Dennis Schroder, who was really good in this game too. It looks like they fleeced them. And by the way, DeAndre Hunter needs to have eye surgery for a detached retina. Feel really bad for him. He's going to miss the rest of the season. That truly stinks. But it's hard, I think, for somebody with the skill set of Keon Ellis to be in a situation like Sacramento where they don't, quite frankly, have a lot of winning players. Like, I think Domantas Sabonis is a good basketball player. I don't think he's a winning basketball player. I think DeMar DeRozan is a good basketball player. At this point in his career, I don't think he's a winning basketball player. At this point in his career, I don't think Zach LaVine, I don't think Russell Westbrook. Like, I don't think those guys are winning basketball players. And when a guy like Keon Ellis is in that situation, I think it's really challenging for him to have the same level of impact when he can't be an amplifier around awesome players. Where when he's in Cleveland and the Cavs are throwing out lineups of James Harden and Jarrett Allen and Jaylon Tyson and Dennis Schroder and Keon Ellis, the role that Keon can be in really sticks out because of how good everyone around him is. So I do think it's a little unfair to be like, oh man, the Kings really screwed up. They did, to be fair. But I also look at this and say, I kind of get why it didn't work there. But even if he's doing the same things, and we talked to Keon after this game, because if you're watching on YouTube, I am in Charlotte. I'm doing this podcast from a random room inside the Spectrum Center. I don't know what this room is, but I'm doing a podcast. You saw somebody open the door behind my shoulder a few minutes ago, because I don't know if I'm supposed to be in here, honestly. But he said, like, he feels like he's doing the same types of things, but the impact sticks out so much more because it's leading to winning. It's one thing to see Keon Ellis have like 4 deflections in a game, and I don't know how many he had. It had to be like 6 or 7 in this game. I mean, it was outrageous the way that he was able to get his hand on the basketball so frequently. That doesn't have the same impact when a team is down by 10 and doesn't have the horses to get back into a game. Where with this Cavs team, it has a huge impact. And I thought that he and Dennis Schroder and Jaylon Tyson really flipped this game. Like Dennis Schroder, I thought that, and I know like his box score is not some super impressive box score. And to be fair, like Keon Ellis isn't either. He was 2 of 2 from the floor. He had 4 points, but he's a plus 19 in almost 24 minutes. Dennis Schroder played 20 minutes, was a plus 16. He had 8 points, 2 of 4 shooting, hit all 4 free throws, 3 assists, also had 3 steals. Like those guys, I have been so impressed with those two in particular on the defensive end of the floor. I had high expectations for Keon, and he didn't take a 3 in this game even, which I do think that like he's going to need to shoot a little bit more, and maybe that'll develop. Like the Cavs only shot 21 threes in this game, which I have not looked, but it has to be their lowest figure of the season. But I've been impressed by Dennis's defense too. Like I do wonder if what he was in Sacramento compared to what he is now is so different because he's energized by being in a winning situation. Like that is a thing I'm legitimately curious about, because watching this develop in real time, he looks awesome. He looks, I think, better than he did at any point in Sacramento. And there are nights where he's not going to be super efficient. This night he was 2 of 4. Again, I thought he looked really good. He's making big plays, and not to beat a dead horse or a scapegoat, I guess. Part of the allure of Dennis Schroder is that he's not Lonzo Ball, and that the impact that he's having and the way that he plays so differently from Lonzo is a big difference for this team and makes the Cavs so much better. So like maybe that's part of it, but I just think that he's had such a big impact. I think Keon Ellis has had such a big impact. I thought Jaylon Tyson played really well defensively in this game too. And he only played 17 minutes, but he was a plus 14 and was part of some really good lineups on the floor. And I do think it's going to be an adjustment for Jaylon to go from playing 28, 29, 30, 31 minutes per game to 17, 18, 22, 24 maybe minutes per game. Like that is going to be something that he needs to adjust to, that the Cavs need to adjust to. They need to figure out ways to implement him as best as possible, because he is, to me, probably one of the 5 or 6 best players on this team still. I mean, there were times where he looked like an all-star this year, and they need to figure this out because he is a huge part of the future of this team. And I think that for the Cavs to be at their best, he also needs to be a huge part of the present of this team too. But there are going to be nights where he plays less, but even in the 17 minutes that he played, I thought he had a really big impact for this team. Hit a 3, one of only 10 that the Cavs hit. So overall, like to me, and Naquan Tomlin too, who did not play on Thursday because of calf soreness, he had played 13 minutes. I thought he did some good things. His good things were a little bit more subtle, not necessarily things that I want to lead a podcast with, but I thought he played well also. So I think that those are like, it's exciting to watch this Cavs team go from how are they going to survive when Donovan Mitchell is off the floor, which is kind of what the first 3 months of this season were like, to now Donovan Mitchell can check out of a game and Keon Ellis checks in and Dennis Schroder checks in and Jaylon Tyson checks in. And that's when the Cavs take off. And that's not Donovan not being awesome. That is, now the Cavs have some serious depth. And that to me is something, if you want to come away from the stretch of basketball, and I know like beating the Hornets is not the same as maybe if the Cavs beat the Knicks on Tuesday or if they beat Detroit a week from now. But I do think that if you can come away from this game against a really good team, the Hornets are 26-31, but they have been since December 13th, really since they beat the Cavs in overtime. They've been one of the 6 or 7 best teams in basketball. So don't look at their record and say, this isn't an impressive win. No, it is a good win. And the fact that they won it because the 6th, 7th, 8th guys played awesome, I think that's a really good sign for this team. Now, another guy that was freaking spectacular, Jarrett Allen. We're going to talk about his performance and the consistency that I think has been wildly impressive from Jarrett Allen next, right here on Locked On Cavs. But first, today's show is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Welcome to the 5 Hour Energy Flavor Draft, where we are looking at every aspect of the draft to let you know which tasty flavors are the best and which one just might be sleepers. The board is set, the flavors are ready, and there's only one that's going to take the top spot. For me, it might be the sour apple flavor. I've always been a big sour apple guy. I love a good Granny Smith apple, man. I went to the grocery store the other day, and I picked up 3 of them. Just awesome. One of my favorite fruits. And the fact that that is available as a 5 Hour Energy flavor, well, that makes 5 Hour Energy even better. I love sour apple. I love 5 Hour Energy. Why would I not love them together? That's why, for me, that's probably my number one pick. Just I love that tart taste, the sour, a little bit of sweet. I think it's spectacular. But Fruity Rainbow, also a pretty good choice because I am somebody, I like my fruits. I do. I'm not a big veggie guy. I'm a big fruit guy. Pineapple, strawberry, grapes. Like, you can't go wrong with a good fruit. And Fruity Rainbow has a blend of several different fruits. It's a sweet, colorful finish too that lingers just the right amount. So find your new favorite flavor of 5 Hour Energy shots, available online at 5hourenergy.com. That is the number 5, HOUR energy.com, or on Amazon today. Thank you again for making this edition of Locked On Cavs your first watch on YouTube. If you're watching right now, please do us a favor. Hit that thumbs up button for us. Click subscribe. Hit that notification bell. I don't want you to miss the latest Locked On Cavs content because this team has won 7 straight games. And I know you want Locked On Cavs. And I don't want you to miss Locked On Cavs, especially if they go to Oklahoma City and they win on Sunday. I'll be in Oklahoma City. I'm in Charlotte right now. You're not going to want to miss when that episode drops after the game on Sunday. But I do want to spend a little bit of time closing out today's show talking about how good Jarrett Allen was in this game. So he finished with 26 points and 14 rebounds. And this might have been the quietest, dominant performance that I've seen Jarrett have. And what stands out lately is how consistent Jarrett has been. Like, that is always on him, because it's not that he's not capable of doing this stuff, right? Like, you see this stat line now. I mean, like the game against Portland from a couple of weeks ago, is that surprising? Yes. 40 points from Jarrett Allen. I don't care who you are, you're surprised when you see that. But to see him have 26 points and 14 rebounds, like, I don't think anybody looks at the box score and we're like, oh my goodness, no way. Like, that's not something we expect, but it's not crazy to think. Like, Jarrett has had these types of games as well. But what stands out to me is how consistent he's been. So the Cavs are 7-0 in the month of February. In February, Jarrett Allen has played in all 7 games. Obviously, Evan Mobley has not played in 6 of them. He's only played in Thursday night's game against Brooklyn. Jarrett's averaging 23 points and 12 rebounds and almost 2 blocks per game. This is the best, most consistent stretch of basketball that I think Jarrett Allen has ever played. It's the best, most consistent stretch of basketball that I have seen Jarrett Allen play. And part of this is because the pairing with James Harden is awesome, right? Like, those two fit so well together. And one of the things that Jarrett, did say after the game in the locker room was that he has been watching clips of James playing with Clint Capella back in their days in Houston together. And obviously that was, I think probably it's fair to say, a better version of James Harden. He's still really good, but that was the MVP James Harden, and that's not who he is right now. And he's also not the same. He does not need to be the same scorer in Cleveland that he was in Houston in those days. But James made Clint Capella into like this guy that you could kind of like squint your eyes, like, you know, I could see him getting some all-NBA votes type of thing. Like, that's how good he was really on both ends of the floor. I think Jarrett Allen is a better, more talented basketball player than Clint Capella ever was. Now, James Harden is helping him, I think, reach levels that we've not seen Jarrett Allen reach consistently. And the challenge is going to be, okay, when Evan Mobley's back, like when Evan plays on Sunday against Oklahoma City, is Jarrett going to be able to be the same exact guy in that game that he was on Friday night? Now, maybe same exact is a little bit too much to ask because there's not going to be as much oxygen for him, right? Like, he might not play 32 minutes in that game because Evan Mobley's going to play something. No, I would imagine Evan's probably going to be on a minutes restriction for that one. Like, can Jarrett be a 20-10 guy when Evan is back. And he doesn't need to do that every night, but can he be a 20-10 guy 3 out of 4 nights? Can he do it 3 out of 5 nights? Like, those are the types of things that I am asking myself, because if he can, and his mindset, I think, has very clearly shifted, because like I said, it's not as if he's not been capable of doing this. And I think that is why part of this fan base gets frustrated with Jarrett, is because it's not like he's not awesome. It's that he's not awesome as often as everybody wants him to be awesome. And lately, he's just been awesome all the time. And can he be awesome this good consistently? Because if he can, this Cavs team then goes to another level. And they have already gone to another level from who they were before. But they can get to an even better level. Like, I don't think, and I know that this might sound silly to say because the Cavs have not lost a game since the trades. I get that. But I truly don't think we have seen anything close to the finished product of this team. I really don't. We've seen 20 minutes, 18 minutes of Evan Mobley. That's it during this stretch. Like, I really do think the sky is the limit for this group. I had somebody come up to me prior to the game on Friday here in Charlotte, and they asked me, said, do you think the Cavs have enough to win the title this year? I did not have to hesitate. Like, the answer is absolutely yes. Now, I have long felt that even before the trades, I felt like the Cavs are the most talented roster in the Eastern Conference. And if you listen to the show, you know that's not a new take of mine. They were just underperforming, right? Like, DeAndre Hunter was not playing well. Darius Garland did not look healthy. And those things mattered a lot, to where now they're performing at the level we expect them to perform. But I think if you're watching them, and I think Jarrett Allen is the perfect example of this, I think if you're watching them, I think it's easy to see that they have several more levels that they can get to. And if they get to those levels, they have more than enough to win the championship when June comes this year. Like, I did not have to hesitate. They have enough to win the title this year. I have zero doubts about that. Whether or not they actually do, that is obviously yet to be seen. It's a really, really difficult thing to do. Like, no kidding. But if they can get this level of play consistently out of Jarrett Allen, and it's not always going to be 26-14. And I also know, like, one last thing, I know that everybody is going to look at this and say, well, the Cavs gave up 23 offensive rebounds. Jarrett Allen didn't have a good game. This was not on Jarrett Allen. Jarrett had 14 rebounds. And entering the fourth quarter, Jarrett had 10 rebounds, and no other member of the Cavs had more than 3. That's an issue with the rest of the roster. That's on guys like Dean Wade and Jaylon Tyson and Donovan Mitchell, even James Harden to an extent. Keon Ellis had 3 going into the fourth quarter, but like, that to me was on the supporting cast. That was not on Jarrett. So like, it's easy to say, well, the Hornets out rebounded them. Jarrett didn't have a good game. That's not true. I think if you watch this, like, are there some he could have got that he didn't? Sure. Like, he could have had 18, 19 rebounds in this game, but I don't look at this and say, yeah, the Cavs got beat up on the glass because Jarrett Allen wasn't good. That's not true. Don't even start that. That's just so far from the truth. I think that is on the supporting cast. I don't think that's on Jarrett Allen whatsoever. I just wanted to briefly touch upon that. One last thing, James Harden, I thought, had a good game, not a great game in this one. He had 18 points on 6 of 14, hit a couple of big shots though. Like, he had a 3 in the fourth quarter. So it's like, okay, this is how this is going to go. Had 8 assists, also had a steal, couple turnovers, like, not the best game that James Harden has played. I do want to see, I think I would like to see at some point, and I know he's capable of this, and this is why I want to see it. I would like to see him need to score. And I think that the way that he has played so far probably is a pretty good look into what the Cavs are going to ask him to be in the postseason. Like, he's going to be somebody that sets others up. He's going to be somebody that makes others better, and he's done a fantastic job of that. I want to see James Harden go for a 35-point game in a Cavs win. That is one of the things that just to see it. I know he can do it. Everybody knows he can do it. But just to see it, I think would be something that, like, if you're building a checklist for the rest of the season for the Cavs, I think having James Harden lead the Cavs to a victory, because he had an awesome scoring night and he was feeling it. He was the one that was able to get his own buckets. That, I think, is something that we look at. And like, he's hit plenty of big shots for the Cavs this year. I'm not saying that. I'm just like, I want to see a little bit of volume at some point. I know he can do it. I want to see a little bit more of it, but what he has done so far, I think, has been really, really impressive, and a big part of why the Cavs have looked so good since he's arrived in Cleveland. But that's going to do it for this edition of Locked On Cavs. Like I said earlier, I will be in Oklahoma City as the Cavs take on the Thunder on Sunday afternoon. That is a 1 o'clock Eastern time tip. So I'm hoping to have an episode up wherever you get your podcast or on YouTube as well, around 6 o'clock on Sunday evening. It should be a fun experience. I'm excited to go to Oklahoma City. I've never been to that arena. Obviously, I do wish that the Thunder were fully healthy. I think it'd be a better test for the Cavs, but that's a game that I look at on paper and say, if the Cavs play serious basketball, they should win that, and they should be able to push their winning streak out to 8 games. So, like I said, that's a wrap for this edition of Locked On Cavs. You can find this show anywhere you get your podcast and on YouTube as well. So if you're watching this as we get out here, please do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button for us and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the latest Locked On Cavs content. And make sure you're subscribed wherever you're listening to the show. I'll be back on Sunday talking more about the Cleveland Cavaliers.